So now we're going to learn a little bit more about tables. What we had here was just a basic table, and for the most part you're just going to be using stuff like this. Obviously just create more columns or more rows, things like that. But one thing that might be useful is a column span or col span code, which would allow you to increase the span or the stretch of a column left to right. Okay, so for instance, this person is doing cooking classes and they're trying to schedule their classes for multiple times. Okay, so they would have it from 5:30 to 6 to 6:30, and it would end at 7. Okay, so normally you would have 1, 2, 3 different cells right here, but this is just one big cell that is merged. If you're not careful with how you're doing your, like if you're copying and pasting your row code before you fill it all in, you can end up with some extra cells that are off to the side. And if we ever come across that problem, I'll show you the best way to fix it. But for this one, we're going to do this example code here. I will probably leave some of this code in the assignment for you to copy and paste because it's not the most important part. So look for that code, and then we're going to manually type probably the rest of it. All right, so first thing we need to do, we're going to create a new file. All right, and we're going to file, save as, and we're going to go table col span. Save it as an HTML. I'm going to go to my template, copy paste. All right. So I'm probably just going to give y'all this here. So I'm just going to copy and paste it as well. All right. I'm going to get rid of all this extra lines here. Just so it looks cleaner. I deleted too much there. And these extra lines. I don't like to have a whole lot of spacing like that. Alright, so we have a blank table header here, because if we look, this is going to be blank, so we don't need to put anything there. You could put the day. Alright, so you can leave that as day, or you can just leave it blank. Perfectly fine either way. So we have one row here with our table headers. So obviously we're going to be adding more rows. So let's come back up to where we left off. So tr, table row, table heading, because it's going to be like the title of that row. We're going to put the day, Monday, then TD, and we're going to type space col span equals 3, and 1 pot dishes. Now, the number tells me how many cells or boxes I'm going to use up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So that's why it is number 3. Okay, this one would be col span 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so let's come back up here. Then we're going to have a blank TD. That one's simple. Just do that. Boom. Okay, then we're going to TD col span equals 4. Close the TD and cooking local. Alright, that's one row done. Now we're going to do another row. Our table header is going to be Wednesday. and then TD col span equals 3. Baking basics. We're going to have another blank TD. And we're going to do TD col span equals to 2. Call this one appetizers. This one's only going to take an hour. TD col span equals 2. This one's going to be blank. Double check this. So, baking, appetizers, 2 blank col spans. If you were making this yourself, you don't have to have this merged together as a col span 2. You could just leave it 2 separate TDs, but you would have to do this twice here instead of doing a col span 2. So you can do a col span 2 to just simplify your code, or just leave them empty. Alright, so we're going to do another row for Friday. Okay, so table head, Friday. TD col span equals 4. Seasonal favorites. Empty TD. TD col span 3. And then we're going to have our comment here. And then we're going to close our table. So this is what it should look like when you open it with Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. So just make sure you can tell where you have a 3, it'll take up 3 spots. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And then you have space, so that would be the 4th one. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Just make sure they line up with what you're wanting. It's always a good idea to either do like a rough draft in Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, or even just on pen and paper, to kind of write everything down and figure out how many spots you're actually going to need before you start coding. Otherwise, you might mix something up and then you've just got rows and columns and everything going everywhere. Alright. Now we're going to do a row span. So what a row span looks like is up and down being merged instead of left to right. Okay, so basically you're doing the same thing, but you're having the schedule flipped. So your days are at the top now and times are on the left side. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. Save as HTML table practice row span, or table row span. Alright, again, I'm going to go over here to my template, copy, paste, and then we're going to move on with this, and I will probably give you this part there. Again, I'm going to clean it up. You don't have to necessarily clean it up like this if you don't want to. I just think it's neater to have less lines of code. Alright, so here's our first row. We have an empty table header, and then we have 3 table headers with Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's going to be the same information, just going to be displayed in a different way. So table row. Oop, I don't know what that was. Click by accident. Table heading. And this is going to be our time. So our time is going to be bold now. And then our table D, table data, rows span equals 3. One pot dishes. TD row span equals 3. Baking basics. Row span 4. Seasonal favorites. Okay, so you might get a little confused. Just remember the first row, the first TD, sorry, not the first row, the first TD here is going to be Monday. The second one is going to be Wednesday. Third one is going to be Friday. Just keep that in mind as you're coding, so you don't get lost. All right. So then the next time is going to be table head, and then we're going to do 6 p.m. Now notice there's nothing else there because we've already spanned from this column or this row 3 times. So 1, 2, and then the next row. So we don't need to have any more table datas for that. And it'll all come together here shortly. So TH and then 6:30 p.m. And then this one will be 7 p.m. TR TH 7 p.m. And this one we will have some TDs. So TD row span is equal to 4. 4, I can type it out. Cooking local. TD row span is equal to 2. Appetizers. Oh, I think I went too far. Yes, I did. Okay. Those are going to be empty TD. Alright, so let me just finish this one up. This one's going to be 7:30. Row. Table head. 7 p.m. and then 2 blank TD. Okay. Now I'm caught up. Okay, row span 4, 2 blank. 4, 2 blank. Okay. Now we're going to do 8 o'clock. 8 p.m. And then we're going to do 1 table data with the row span equal to 2. That there. We need it here. Now we're going to do 8:30. These are blank. Oh, I keep really messing this up. 3, I should say desserts.